One bite of a sweet dessert, on the surface, a night of passion. Behind it, the price may be a lifetime of losing control. These were the heartfelt words left behind by a former senior Japanese official after personally encountering the Chinese Communist Party's so-called honeypot tactic. Of course, the CCP's honeypot operations do not succeed every time. The CCP also miscalculates. At one point, it even tried sending handsome men to former Japanese Prime Minister Shinzo Abe, turning the whole episode into an international joke. By wielding beauty traps as a weapon, the CCP has launched a global honeypot war. British and American intelligence agencies have exposed the CCP's espionage methods, and the United States has even revived Cold War-era countermeasures to guard against CCP swallows, seductive spies. This invisible war often begins the moment a hotel room door opens. Don't miss the next drop, subscribe and hit the bell. A former Japanese senior official reveals the CCP's beauty trap. Multiple Taiwanese media outlets cited an interview video of Hirofumi Ono, former economic and social affairs advisor to Japan's mission to the United Nations, revealing how the CCP deploys its beauty trap tactics. That day, Ono returned to a hotel in Beijing arranged by the Chinese side. He swiped his key card, opened the door, and froze. Inside the room sat a young woman. She wasn't just beautiful, her beauty was too precise. Her face was almost an exact replica of a Japanese actress he privately admired most. Even more shocking, the moment she spoke fluent, natural Japanese. In that instant, what flashed through Ono's mind wasn't romance, it was fear. They even know this? Ono admitted that the most terrifying thing at that moment wasn't temptation, but the feeling of being completely seen through. Your preferences. Your aesthetic tastes. What you once casually mentioned liking in a private conversation. Perhaps he had once, offhandedly, mentioned an actress he admired. But all those fragmented clues had been stitched together into a complete personal profile, then deployed at the right time, in the right place. The host couldn't help but exclaim. This is tailor-made. The CCP had fully investigated his background and preferences. Ono nodded. Even knowing rationally that it couldn't be real, a dangerous thought still surfaced: what if? And that dessert, once you take a bite, it can cost you a lifetime. What ultimately made Ono turn around and leave was a warning he remembered. While working at the United Nations, a superior had once privately told him. Once you eat the dessert served by the CCP, the outcome is almost always a lifetime of being their slave. So Ono had to suppress the impulse. It wasn't a night of pleasure, it was a shackle with no visible end. Once the CCP records you on video or audio and gains leverage, your life from that point on is essentially no longer your own. Ono added pointedly. When I now see many politicians making policies that lean toward foreign powers, especially the CCP, I can't help but wonder, did they eat the dessert prepared for them? When the CCP misjudged, sending handsome men to Shinzo Abe. But the CCP's beauty trap does not always work. In 2022, Shuken Gendai reported that this tactic completely backfired on former Prime Minister Shinzo Abe. Former Aji Paper chairman Ishikawa Takahiro, a close friend of Abe, revealed that Beijing had repeatedly tried to deploy tactics against Abe, and failed every time. After repeated failures, the Chinese side reportedly began to suspect. Does this person not like beautiful women? So they decided to change tactics. What followed became a farcical misjudgment: 2 doors, 2 embarrassments. During one visit to China, Abe and former Prime Minister Junichiro Koizumi attended the same itinerary. Afterward, each returned separately to rooms arranged by the Chinese side. Koizumi opened his door first. Inside stood a neat row of Chinese women, like the backstage of a beauty pageant. Then it was Abe's turn. He opened his door and found a group of tall, handsome, well-trained young men, like an idol boy band fresh out of a management meeting. Years later, Abe reportedly joked bitterly to friends. China probably thought I liked men. This miscalculation later became a piece of dark humor circulating privately in political circles, and inadvertently confirmed a truth. When someone never takes the bait, to the point that the other side can't even guess how to tempt them, the party that becomes passive is actually the one making the move. The so-called beauty trap is never just about beauty. It is a precise operation built on intelligence gathering, psychological warfare, and human weakness. What's truly frightening isn't knocking on the wrong door, it's someone knowing which door will make you stop walking. In this invisible game, the ones who survive intact are those who know when to stop, and who understand that some desserts must never be tasted, not even once. The US revives Cold War tactics to guard against CCP swallows. Earlier this year, the US State Department issued an unprecedented order to personnel stationed in China, explicitly prohibiting them from dating Chinese citizens or engaging in any form of intimate relationship. The ban applies to all US personnel in China, including diplomats, family members, and contractors with security clearances, and is enforced strictly. Anyone who develops a romantic or intimate relationship with a Chinese citizen must either apply for a waiver or terminate the relationship. Otherwise, they must resign and leave China. The restriction covers US missions in mainland China, including consulates in Shenyang and Wuhan, the embassy in Beijing, consulates in Shanghai and Guangzhou, and the US consulate in Hong Kong. The policy does not apply to US personnel stationed outside China. At first glance, the order feels like a time warp, back to the Cold War. Such policies had largely disappeared from public view over the past several decades. But history tells us this is not new. As early as 1987, due to frequent Soviet use of sexual entrapment to infiltrate the military, the United States imposed a total ban on personnel stationed in the Soviet Union and China from engaging in romantic or intimate relationships with locals. After the Cold War ended, as enemy lines blurred and risk assessments changed, these restrictions were gradually relaxed and even dismissed as outdated relics. Their return today suggests one thing: it's not that the world has suddenly become conservative, it's that the nature of the threat has reverted to a stage that requires old methods once again. U.S.-China relations have shifted from comprehensive competition to comprehensive vigilance. With economic, technological, military, and ideological clashes happening simultaneously, intelligence warfare naturally returns to the most primitive, and most effective, level: people. The CCP's honeypot traps are hard to guard against. By the time you sense something is wrong, you're often already past the point of no return. US intelligence experts warn that the CCP still widely uses beauty traps to obtain intelligence. During pre-deployment security training, US personnel are repeatedly warned to be cautious of anyone who approaches them. British and American agents expose the CCP's beauty trap espionage. Former CIA officer Waller recently told US media that while working in Poland, a young Chinese woman approached him. He immediately recognized the tactic. Waller said, "When we arrived at the hotel, she naturally entered my room. I looked at her and said, 25-year-old woman wants to be with me for that reason, you're a spy." I left her immediately and reported to the Polish authorities. I told them this Chinese woman using the Polish government email system was a CCP spy and what she was trying to do. Within days, she was expelled. Waller emphasized that the CCP's extensive use of beauty traps aims to build emotional connections, regardless of gender. These are not just blackmail operations. Blackmail has become harder, so the CCP now focuses on emotional and psychological manipulation. According to Fox News, there are hundreds or even thousands of CCP spies active within the United States. They are skilled at assuming false identities, speaking fluent English, and using social media to approach targets. Once successful, they use photos or videos to coerce cooperation, or threaten exposure and ruin. The CCP's infiltration isn't just an American issue. When attention turns to Europe, the British response leaves no ambiguity. In October, the UK's Domestic Security Service MI5 issued a rare public warning to members of Parliament, stating that the UK is a primary target of long-term strategic interference and espionage by regimes including Russia, China, and Iran. A highly classified MI6 document also revealed that China has deployed hundreds of female agents to seduce British intelligence officers and officials. If seduction fails, they resort to blackmail using explicit photos, audio recordings, and videos. While the CCP casts a wide net of attractive men and women abroad, it simultaneously tightens control at home. Chinese civil servants with spouses holding foreign citizenship face promotion restrictions. Diplomats stationed abroad too long may be forcibly recalled. Military and police personnel cannot leave the country without approval, let alone date foreigners. The Fang Fang spy case. Among the CCP's exposed espionage operations in recent years, the name Fang Fang has become one of the most familiar, and embarrassing, symbols in U.S. politics. In 2020, Democratic Congressman Eric Swalwell saw his public image plummet after revelations of his connection with Fang Fang, a suspected Chinese spy. Fang Fang used social and romantic relationships as cover to infiltrate local and federal political circles, building an extensive intelligence network that ultimately triggered an FBI investigation. At first, no one suspected her. She was young, intelligent, fluent in English, and well-mannered. To political acquaintances, she was just another civic-minded Chinese-American woman. In 2011, she entered the U.S. as a student and soon became a frequent presence at political events, fundraisers, campaign activities, community gatherings, rarely missing any. She quickly built broad connections within Northern California's Democratic circles. In some cases, she established private relationships with targets, deepening trust and dependence. U.S. intelligence later classified her as a textbook example of influence operations, long-term infiltration of power circles through emotional and social means. What shook Washington most was who she approached. According to Fox News in 2020, Fang Fang assisted Swalwell's 2014 congressional campaign fundraising and helped place at least one intern in his office, triggering FBI alarms. She soon left the U.S., widely believed to have returned to China. Although the FBI did not accuse Swalwell of wrongdoing, the exposure severely impacted his political career. At the time, he sat on the House Intelligence Committee and participated in discussions related to CCP national security issues, making the case especially sensitive. Why did the Fang Fang case become a classic example? Because she didn't do anything overtly illegal. She didn't steal documents. She didn't record conversations. She didn't conduct transactions. She simply placed herself at the right place, at the right time, beside the right people. What alarmed the U.S. most wasn't what she did, but what she proved. In democratic societies, the easiest thing to infiltrate isn't a secure room, it's the social network itself. When politics is built on trust, openness, and participation, access to the core often doesn't require breaking in, only being invited inside. That is the opening that allowed the CCP's attractive male and female agents to deploy globally. A former U.S. intelligence official once warned, "The real threat isn't the spies in movies, but those who gradually reshape free societies in the name of friendship, love, academia, and funding."